For people like us that are always in motion, those strategic pauses are so important because it allows you the opportunity to spot your own pattern. We as humans are so good in spotting patterns in other people, in our external environment, but our own patterns tend to elude us. And that's why I really love the Pattern app. So anybody that's joined our sister circle on LinkedIn, joined our My Sister Shoulders community, you hear me talk about this app a lot because part of the magic that we're building here, one of the very first steps is know thyself.
Yes.
Okay? If you know yourself, your good habits, your bad habits, your strengths, your weaknesses, if you are super clear with yourself about who and what you are, no one in your external environment can tell you shit that's going to rattle your cage because you already know yourself.
Hello, Embracing Only family. So, Olivia, we were just talking about how there's so much power in the idea of freedom, whether that means freedom with regards to escaping from a specific role or a specific boss or a specific environment or a specific family environment, etc. But sometimes we get so fixated on utilizing and creating this like elemental force and energy to escape and to run away, which kind of defines that energy around the freedom, that we don't recognize that once we've gone through that freedom from, we have to really shift and identify different energy towards freedom to create, freedom to do, which requires a 180-degree shift, because otherwise you're constantly living in this space that I've got to go create this to ensure I will always escape and never go back to where I was before or whatever it might be, which is a very different kind of mindset. And I feel like it's taken me 2 years since I left the corporate world to finally recognize that I need to let go of that freedom from energy that was necessary at that time to work towards a freedom to energy, essentially, to be like, now what am I going to go create? And I'm just curious what resonates for you there.
Everything that you just said resonates so much. And let me just say what you just said a little bit differently so it's clear in my head. I think what you're talking about that I see so often in the women that I coach is they come to me and they're like, my boss and this sucks and this and that and this and that. And they're all things that are external to your inner self.
Yes.
Okay. They're literally parroting to me all these things in the external environment, external stimulus that is prompting them to escape. So the mission becomes escape. But what we should be saying is, what do I want? What does my ideal life look like? And so when you shift your mindset from, okay, I'm running away from this external stimulus, or I'm embracing this external stimulus, to now creating your own end goal for yourself that you're working towards, it's two very different mindsets. Because if you're always escaping and your focus is always on things that is external to you, you're still being pushed and pulled by your environment. You are still not in control of your own fate, right? Because you're being pushed and pulled by your environment. So instead, yes, I know a lot of us are like, oh my God, I have to get out of the situation. We all fall into that trap, ladies. Sure. And there are some environments like the toxic ones that we're like, yeah, get the heck out of there. But while you're working to get the heck out of there, we really have to take the time to stop and say, get out of there and go away. Otherwise, what happens, and this happened, you are Cheetah, you can share this. Otherwise, what happens is you might jump out of the frying pot and into the fire. You escaped one thing, but then you just jumped into something that is exactly the same from what you just ran from.
Yes, exactly. And that's something I'm really reflecting on right now. Because when we talk about this freedom from, a friend visualized this for me and said that when we get freedom from a space, we're reactive, which is all necessary because you need to get out of that space, right? But it implies you're removing like chains, right? So visualize that you're escaping, you're removing the chains, but you still don't have the wings to fly away. It's like now that mentality, the freedom to mentality, builds the wings. And then she said this, and my gosh, it's still like sitting in my brains right now and occupying all the space, is that she said that her breakthrough came when she stopped focusing on what I wanted to escape and started imagining what I wanted to create.
Yes. Yes. That creation part, I cannot amplify enough. You are the architect of your life.
Yes.
What are you building? Because everything else falls into the noise bracket. If you don't know
Yes.
where you're going and you're just escaping, or you're looking for this freedom, it's okay, you're getting some freedom, but we still don't know where we're headed because we haven't created the life. We haven't stopped. We haven't taken that strategic pause to say, where on earth am I going? And for people like me, you guys know me, the former engineer, I like to be very tactical. I like my plans. It's sometimes so hard. Oh, and by the way, I always like to be in motion, right? You and I, what thing am I doing next? What thing am I cross off my checklist today? And it's so painful for people wired like us to stop and say, let me dream, let me create, right? What is it that I'm trying to build? Where am I headed? It's so much more comfortable to look at our environment and say, okay, I don't like this. I don't like that. I want to escape these things instead of creating or designing our lives.
Yes. And it's this aspect of, so I escaped, right? I took freedom from corporate 2 years ago. Okay. And everyone's, oh gosh, it's a long time or whatever. But this is the interesting thing. In this 2 years, and this aha moment has dawned on me this morning. Okay. So this is a February 21, 2025 reflection after having left corporate in January of almost 2023. Every client I took on, not my one-on-one clients, maybe even them, because I was helping them escape the corporate world and transition. So every client I took on, I was so focused. I don't want to ever be in that space like I was before, right? I don't want to do a 9 to 5. I don't want to be there from Monday to Friday. So I'd be fixated, and I still am fixated on, I need to be very clear with the clients, like my private equity clients, for instance. I only work with them Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So I would be like a stickler, like to manage my energy or whatever it is. But it's so fixated on what I wanted to escape, or I would really be listening and watching the CEOs when I'm having that initial sales conversation. Is this the person? Are they going to be toxic? Is there something I'm going to see here? I'd be like watching for all of these things that are all reactionary patterns. And then today I'm just like, girl. And I thought the whole time that I was creating something, because I was like, yeah, when I put pen to paper and I was like, what kind of life do I want to lead? It was very deliberate. This was the life I wanted to lead, but it was a life I wanted to lead, escaping from. And now I'm going to be putting pen to paper, which is what is the life I want to lead from the perspective of freedom too? What I want to build.
Yes.
And what does that look like?
So you said something that I want to pull out of what you just said that's really important. You said that you were designing your life, but from a reactionary lens, right? It's the reaction that is really the cornerstone of the difference between escaping from and escaping to, right?
Yes.
So if you have already done the work to design your life and you go back and you reflect on it, does it sound reactionary to you? Right? Just go look at it like you've never seen it before.
Exactly.
And really examine, are you responding to something or are you truly creating something from scratch?
You just said something about what were you doing in the past, like your habits. Guess what was in my pattern? So there's an app, ladies, if you're into astrology or even if you're not, if you believe in good energy in the world, Olivia introduces to me and I'm like digging the damn thing through and through. It's the best $9.99 or whatever the heck it is a month that I spend. But guess what was in my pattern? I just pulled it up because I was like, it said right now, you'll be pushed to shed old habits, creating space for something new. If you feel limited in some way, this energy will help you see beyond your blocks. Holy crap. Like I've literally been feeling this energy over the last 3 days. And I think you said this to me yesterday on another call. I'm sensing another pivot, right? And I'm just sitting with it. I don't know if it was you or someone else who said this. You don't chase the outcome of what it could look like, right? So just sitting with it and putting that into the world. Well, what are you trying to tell me right now? Where do I want to go? And it's so amazing to be in this space where I am not chasing. Since December 1st, 2024, I have not done what I would call enough to work on my business. And usually I'd be losing my shit. But there's something in this environment. I was talking to two other entrepreneur ladies here and I had lunch with them today. And they looked at me like I was crazy. But I was like, no, like I don't know. There's something in the energy. Of course, I have clients. It's not like I'm sitting with any clients at the moment. But I felt like there was a need to have this pause. You said the strategic pause to really identify what is the question I have got to ask to define this new beginning.
Yes. It's so important. And I think for people like us that are always in motion, okay, so if you're not always in motion, this may not resonate with you. That's fine. Take what doesn't resonate. But for people like us that are always in motion, those strategic pauses are so important because it allows you the opportunity to spot your own pattern. We as humans are so good in spotting patterns in other people in our external environment, but our own patterns tend to elude us. And that's why I really love the pattern app. So anybody that's joined our sister circle on LinkedIn, joined our My Sister Shoulders community, you hear me talk about this app a lot because part of the magic that we're building here, one of the very first steps is know thyself. Okay?
Yes.
If you know yourself, your good habits, your bad habits, your strengths, your weaknesses, if you are super clear with yourself about who and what you are, no one in your external environment can tell you shit that's going to rattle your cage because you already know yourself. So being so self-aware about your own patterns is so important. And then when you start to notice that the patterns keep repeating themselves, you can say, all right, hold on a second. This is the third time I've fallen back into this trap. What is the universe trying to tell me? Because when you keep experiencing those patterns, it'll keep coming up. It's time to stop. It's time to pause and say, what is it that I'm not doing that is preventing me getting to that next level of success? It happens to all of us.
Gosh, it does. Like I've been sitting in like saint mode, being like, oh my God, woo woo, wow, wow. Like I'm finding these amazingly aligned clients. They get me, let me be myself, which is true. Honestly, like I've hit some really like very aligned clients. And then this week, something happened that literally went back into that old pattern. It had to do with a woman of a certain demographic again. And she's done nothing so far to show otherwise. But in that meeting, the man who was a CEO, he always talks in loops. Okay. So I'm like, okay, what his first sentence means nothing much. I have to figure out, like, by the eighth sentence, what is the actual thing that we're actually going to be talking about? We went in loops and it almost was like, oh, am I walking myself into like, Achita, we didn't deliver what we needed to deliver or something. Okay, I didn't know. I thought I was imagining this in my head. He didn't say this. I was imagining this in my head. It was the entire leadership team. And then this woman, she's like, yeah, it would be really good if I. And I'm like, Entschuldigung, which is, excuse me, this is not what we agreed on. I'm completely like building this narrative of how my toxic workplace situation played out. Are they having these conversations in the background now about things that they didn't discuss with me? All this crap is going on in my head, right? So I'm just like, I can feel like the CEO even said, Achita, I see that you're frustrated. This is where I'm at. And then luckily the chief of staff, she reels him in and she's like, listen, friend, you do not even give her this information. She's coming in completely blind. Let her go figure this out and then we'll chat. So I'm glad she did that because it helped me step away. Then I reflected about this old pattern, like when a woman of a certain demographic starts creating what I would call a gaslighting situation, I go into complete goddamn fear mode. This is 2 years after I thought I had achieved sainthood in these situations, right? And so then I recognized later on, her goalpost had changed from when we had the meeting on Tuesday to now. So now this matters to her. It didn't matter to her 2 days ago. So now when I understood where she came from and I had paused, I did not go crazy like, what? I realized it was like, okay, it is not the story I was telling myself based on how it was in the past. So those pauses you were talking about, so critical because the universe will keep sending you your old patterns back to test you essentially to see if you have worked yourself, graduated yourself through that particular situation.
Yeah, I'm going to give the audience some theory here for a second. I was going to share some questions with you guys, but we might just add it in the show notes instead to help you think through this. But you're making me think of something. And it's a model that I shared with our audience before, but it's coming back up. Okay. So Partners in Leadership did a model called the results pyramid.
Mm.
And it says that at the base of the pyramid, it's people's experiences. We all have experiences every day with society, with our parents, with friends, with work, blah, blah, blah. We have these experiences. Those experiences then drive your beliefs. So in your case, you had these toxic workplace experiences that made you create beliefs about yourself, about your capabilities, about what our majority peers look like, or will do to you, or will help you or not help you, etc. And then once you form a belief, your actions tend to align with those beliefs. And then you get some result, positive or negative. The only way your brain knows how to navigate these circumstances is if we intentionally create different experiences. This is why it is so important that you get the F out of toxic environments as soon as humanly possible. Because every day that you are in that environment, you are creating these experiences that then is reinforcing a belief in your head. I'm not worthy. I'm not enough.
Yes.
I don't do this. I have imposter syndrome. I blah, 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 nonsense, right? Because you keep having these experiences until you stop that feedback loop of experience validating your belief that you're not worthy, blah, 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 experience validating that belief. It's been 2 years, Archita, and you're still trying to create different neural loops.
Yes.
Because that experience was so profoundly impactful to you.
Exactly.
It's still underneath the layers, is still impacting your self-worth.
And this experience
Ladies.
was like 3 years before. You know what I mean? And I guess why I'm sharing this is to share with everybody is that this journey is not like linear. It's not, you just have to, what I think what we're sharing here is tools you can lean on when you do fall into this cycle. Because as I said, I literally thought I had achieved like grateful sainthood with those experiences. But then it was a test. So there is so much value.
But I think,
Reflecting.
Archita, even more so than sharing tools, we're sharing transparency.
Yes.
Because you don't know what you don't know. If you don't know that this is a pattern, you wouldn't be looking for it and being like, have I fallen into this trap? Sometimes it takes hearing something like this. Oh, shit, that sounds like something I'm going through, to realize that it's a pattern. And then we provide the tool to get you out of it. But a lot of women that I talk to as my clients don't even realize that they're in this doggone loop,
Yes.
right? Because nobody's held up a mirror to be like, girl, you're in a toxic loop. Let me try to help you get out of it, right? And I will say this as well. In addition to identifying the fact that you're in a loop and getting tools to navigate out of it, there is a critical part of this that Archita and I cannot help you with, ladies. And that is courage. You have to decide you no longer want this for yourself. And come hell or high water, you are going to move through this experience onto greener pastures, whatever it takes, because you're likely going to have some uncomfortable conversations. You may have to take some risks that you're not used to taking. You may have to step out on faith, knowing that your dream is out there, but you're not exactly sure on how to step your way through it. There is going to be courage involved that Archita and I cannot muster up for you. Okay. So don't be, for lack of a better word, chicken shit. Okay. The toxic environment is going to kill you drop by drop. Every day you're there, those experiences worm their way into your psyche and chip away at your soul. I'm not even joking. It's scientifically proven. It chips away at you. You will lose yourself in it, but it's going to take courage to step out of it. But I promise you, glory is on the other side. I promise you.
Yes, it is. That's a great place to close this conversation on our short little impact episode, ladies. Move from freedom to freedom to. Take those strategic pauses and take action to step out of situations that are not serving you well.
Just move, ladies. You guys will be just fine. We promise.
Thank you all.